This tractor looked a lot different a week and a half ago when I just brought it in here to start this project. I didn't realize I was gonna get this far into it this fast and that I would be deciding to go the route I was going with fixing it. Plans have changed, and now instead of buying a salvage block from a tractor parts place about an hour from me, we are now going to try to fix it because A, that place doesn't have the block I need, and B, because we think we can fix it. So this week we're going to try to get the injection pump off and hopefully get the engine out of the tractor so we can get on the stand and get the rest of it apart and hopefully see if we can fix it. So let's tear into it. So I'm trying to remember where I left off since before I started working on the last video, but it is time to take off the timing cover. I've timed the injection pump so that way it is on number 1, we believe, and if you ever need to tell it's on number 1, it's hard to tell. There's that tooth right in the middle there that looks like it's different color. It's more of a brass color, and it's got the top of it clipped off. And if you look on the top, right about the middle, it's hard to see on the camera, but there is a little arrow pointing to the middle of the slot you can see the gear in, and you want to line the gold clipped tooth with that, and that should time the injection pump. And then you can open this up, and if you want to, there's 2 bolts in here and you can pull the gear out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the timing cover off so that way I can get in there and I'm going to align all the timing marks. So when it comes to putting the engine back together, I shouldn't have to do any timing. I can just align all the marks, slip all the gears back on, and I should be in business. So since we got to take this off, I got to get all this dirt from this area out in here because we don't want to be blowing any around and get it inside of here because these are delicate. So I'm going to pull this steering gear out because there's a ton of dirt behind it and I don't want to blow that all around. I've got a giant pile on the floor. So that's what we're going to do right now. Okay, so I got all the bolts out on the cover. I've got it all cleaned off. I took a die grinder, as you saw, and went around this edge right here just to get all the dirt off. And then I blew it all off, and I got this paper towel there so I can get dirt inside. But I was hoping that I could pull this cover off and make marks on all the timing gears, or line up all the timing marks, so I can put it back together and not have to time anything. It would all already be in time. That's not going to work, as I found out, because the injection pump is bolted into the timing cover. So what that means I have to do is pull this off first. So what I did is I went in here and this gear was still on. The gear was still on the injection pump before I pulled the cover back off. And it's hard to see, but I made a mark on this gear and the gear that runs the pump, so that way I can get this cover off and the pump off, and then I can line everything up and time it, and I'll be fine. But I cannot turn this over because I have this timed to cylinder number 1, so I have to leave this, I think. I'm going to try not to mess with it, but since this is timed, and then I'm also, once I pull this off, and I'm also going to mark the 2 holes in the injection pump that I use, because you can pick this up and rotate it to every tooth so you time the injection pump right. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to try to get the injection pump off real quick and see what it looks like in there. Also, let me know what you think, because see right there, I started to polish this as an aluminum cover. Let me know what you think. Should I do that, or should I just leave it dirty? We'll see. Not sure if I'm going to paint this engine or not before I put it back in. So I timed it in this cover right here, but there's a pin right there and the timing mark is right there. So for some reason it's not timed the same between here and here, and I don't know why. Now we should be able to get this timing cover off. Well, stuff happened and the engine is not out yet. So we were trying to pull it out and it's getting stuck on something. We couldn't figure out what it was. I took this cover off. You can see the power shift. Nothing seems to, still loose there. So looking at the book, And if you come back here, it's the PTO. The shaft from this is one straight shaft, comes all the way up front here, and the clutch is in the back. And if you don't know, the drive shaft that is right in there, it's actually hollow inside, so it's like a pipe. And then your PTO shaft runs directly from the engine to the back, so that way when you push the clutch in, which the lever's right here, it stops this piece right here, and the PTO shaft goes through to the engine. So you stop the tractor, your PTO still keeps on running. So like your mower will keep running when you stop. On other tractors that we've taken apart, when you pull the engine away from the bell housing, the PTO shaft has splines on it right here, and it just pulls right apart from the engine. Well, on this tractor, you take the bell housing off with it, and you have to go back here and pull the PTO shaft out of the back. What we're hoping we don't run into is that the PTO shaft will be so long that it hits this, so we might have to roll the tractor forward. But we'll see. I'm going to read the book and then start taking it apart. Well, the pistons are out, and Just looking at these, the rod journals are pretty nice. All shiny. The one that's not shiny is number 6, which is all dull. You can see shiny. And there's that one. Number 6 is the only one that's all marred up like that. So that's probably because this kept coming around and hitting the rods, you know, because the rod was sticking out here. So the engine could have kept running. Who knows if the guy that was driving it shut it off in time. But there was also, you know, there was a bearing around each one of these rod journals. And there were not bearings on this one. And my grandpa and I thought that it might have just worn away, but unless all the sludge in here, like this is the bearing, which it could be, but I mean, you wouldn't think it was spinning that long for it to do that. So that could have been what did that, because I can't find any bearings. And this piston over here, you know, it just looks like this. It looks like it's been wearing on that for a while. And this one also has this. This is your oil wiper ring, so that way you don't get all the oil up there in the firing chamber, so you know, it'll make it smoke a lot more. So this, as the piston comes down, it wipes the cylinder walls off, so your oil stays in the oil pan. And it sits in this ring right here. But when I got to it, it was sitting in there just like that. But the other ones, so this is our number 4. It just has the ring with the V groove. So I'm guessing that's your oil wiper. I'm not entirely sure, but that's got to be it. Something else. So I put 4 pins in there. This is number 4. Someone else had put 3 marks in this with a chisel before. So this used to be number 3. And then even before that, it says 32 on the cap and 32 on the piston. So these 2 caps were always together, but they used to be in different places. So I don't know if that matters, but it's something else. So it's been rebuilt multiple times. But our theory is, since only one has that one type of oil wiper, we think that at one point someone rebuilt cylinder number 6, and maybe they didn't put bearings in. We also think they didn't torque the bolts, and that's why it fell off, because they also used nylon lock nuts. You can see there's the nylon right there. It actually just fell out of the lock nut. But those were on the rod caps, and you can see these, they have just these like castle nuts on there. The nylon nuts also make your torque spec wrong, so that would have affected a lot of things, and that also could have been why they fell off. And those falling off was what made it send the rod to the side of the block. So I gotta dig into this a little bit more. I gotta get my crankshaft polished, and I'm gonna get that out. And also, I've got my piston sitting on my flywheel here, but there's no like groove there. And if you look at this flywheel off our Farm 826 right there, you can see that it's all shiny on the flywheel, and we just had this one ground because there's deep grooves that get in there when your clutch wears on it. You can see on the pressure plate what the clutch does to it. There's just grooves that, you know, probably like an 1/8 inch deep all the way around on it, and that's just from your clutch going around and around and wearing on it. So what's weird is the Oliver has 8,000 hours on it, and it doesn't have these grooves. So with that being said, I don't think it's been that long since this engine was rebuilt with cylinder number 6, as I said before, because this is flat. The clutch disc looks fairly okay, and our pressure plate over there looks good too. No grooves in it, and just a little bit of surface rust. So with that being said, I don't have to get a clutch, but I do have to get my crankshaft polished, because I need a smooth surface for the new bearings, because I need new bearings in all my pistons. Because when you can start to see that little copper color in the middle there, that means that they are starting to get worn out. So we're going to do new bearings on those. I'm going to get that polished, and then we'll see where that puts us in the next one. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.